So welcome back, Kate.
Thank you for having me again.
So ahead of the Notting Hill Festival, we'd like to hear from the experts that what our listeners who are living in homes around the Notting Hill area should be considering ahead of the festival to get prepared from a security aspect.
Sure. So the home is the castle, as I said in the podcast that we did, and so there's two scenarios I think is most important to ascertain initially: whether somebody's staying in the property or whether somebody's planning to leave the property, and those two will provide a sort of a different footprint for both sort of suggestions, if you like. Size of the property as well, its location, because as we know, there's certain parts of the route just off of the main sort of the main route that will be having a higher footfall than others. So a combination of those two factors. If someone's staying, if they're staying, then it's a case of where their property is positioned, what they want to put in place for either preventing access or preventing anyone from coming in from the street. So we've helped clients with anything from boarding and fencing to hiring somebody that can stand outside as a residential security individual, and that's if they're in the property. If they're going away, then there's a more robust version of the fencing and the boarding up of the property, particularly if they're concerned about windows and general sort of privacy factor. But generally, it's just to understand also what other neighbours are doing. We don't like security in isolation. What's your rest of your street doing? Always tying in with your neighbours and also what they might be thinking of using as well. It will also help from a cost point of view, where a number of clients that we've worked with in different parts of London have come together to have somebody patrolling, potentially static in a car, or indeed using one or more of the properties as a sort of an operation centre, sometimes with security trained dogs, other times just as a sort of standalone operator. So if you're staying or leaving, always understanding what the rest of your neighbour or your street are doing. And we've undertaken projects where we've done that communication on behalf of a client. So we've actually spoken to, if we haven't known those clients or worked with them previously, then we will get in touch with them and sort the logistics and the admin out for them.
So it is a real thing. People do actually get prepared before the Notting Hill Festival for security reasons, and this is something that you have experienced.
It's not even just for Notting Hill. We would use the same protocol for clients that are concerned about rising crime in an area or bigger events, protests. We have clients that live bang in central sort of zone 1, behind places like Trafalgar Square, and when they know that there are specific rallies or events that are coming up, we will always send them a forward plan of those events specific to their area, so that if they wanted to have some extra support, that they could book that in time. I think the main aspect of any security planning is time. So give us some time. Don't try and do it at the last minute, because you will only end up with a suboptimal result, or the wrong person, or a lack of operators that could work at a certain time, and you want the best people that you can get in the best possible time frame.
So neighbourhood security could be something that's temporarily put in place because of an event, but there could also be that generally the crime is rising in the area, the street is full of expensive homes, and then you can group together and then provide something.
Exactly, and I'm a big believer in the security of community, and so when you know who lives with you and around you, we've seen that there is a reduction in that any feeling of feeling unsafe, but also of then the end result, which is the crime that will result. Because visual deterrent, like we were talking about invisible security on the podcast, when you have a visible deterrent, like we call it dogs in the window, whether that's actual dogs or whether that's just things where you look at a house or a street and you think, you know what, I'm not going to try here, I'm going to go elsewhere. That's the sort of process that we would put in place for a client, is that deterrent, like those dogs in the window that we would suggest that they put in place.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure.